Good morning, Raider Nation. Happy freaking Thursday, April 2nd. I am the Commish, and this is your Raider Reaction Morning Show. And every Thursday on the Raider Reaction Morning Shows from here on for fucking God knows how fucking long, it's Throwback Thursday. So we're closing every one of our morning shows with a very, very special fucking throwback silver and black nugget. So make sure you stick around all the way to the end because it is another edition of the Throwback Thursday Raider Reaction Morning Show. Let's get after it. I don't know if you guys seen the Instagram posts from the current starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr, as he's getting in some action, doing his working on his social distancing with Zay Jones. Check this out. DC still looking in very, very good form. Of course, you know, there's no defense on the field, and you know, I'd like to see him stretch the field like this during the goddamn season, is all I'm saying.
What a ball, DC.
Hey, I got shoes on. I don't got cleats.
If you haven't been following along, well, shame on you. It's the Raider Reaction 2020 Off-Season Madden Challenge PS4 League. It's our second season. We did this last off-season after the 2019 season wrapped up, and this is our second year of doing it. We're going to be doing it again next off-season as well. So if you didn't get in, maybe you can next time. But let's get to where we're at. We just wrapped up week 8, and we got to get to the most important thing: the league's Power 5. The Steelers continues their winning ways. They are the only undefeated team remaining in the league, and they are sitting number 1 on the power rankings. They slid down a spot last week only because they were on bye and the Redskins passed them. But with the Skins losing, they slid down the charts all the way to number 4, from 1 to 4. But they're still up there. They haven't fallen completely off, as they're still sitting at 7-1. So let's take a look at the rest of the standings and where things are looking at as we're heading down the stretch, man. Second half of the season, starting to think playoffs. Let's see where the standings are right now in the Raider Reaction 2020 Off-Season Madden Challenge PS4 League. And now, for your individual statistics to see who is really raising the bar. Still leading the league in passing after week 8 is Kyler Murray, leading the league in passing. But now taking the lead in touchdowns is Tom Brady. Still leading the league in interceptions is Deshaun Watson. Leading the league in rushing in yardage and touchdowns is Saquon Barkley. Zach Ertz leads the league in receptions with 53. Tyreek Hill leads the league in receiving yardage as well as touchdowns. Ryan Kerrigan still leads the league in sacks with 18.5. There is a tie across the board with interceptions. Marquise Brown got his third kick return last week, and Paris Campbell still the only punt return. Raider Wop returns to the Raider Reaction Morning Show, and he's digging in his mailbag again.
guys? It's Raider Watt with the morning mailbag here in the Raider Reaction Morning Show. Still not a whole lot of news in Raiders world, but Rodney Hudson did rework his deal, saved us close to $10 million in cap, so, that's a positive thing. Team first guy, help us, sign some depth guys or maybe go after, a key piece that we might need here late in free agency. So it's definitely something good to see. NFL announced yesterday also that they expanded the playoffs from 12 teams to 14 teams. Gives us an extra shot to get into the playoffs every year. Definitely anxious to see it, and I'm excited about it. So everything that we reviewed on the mailbag this week, we're going to talk about tomorrow, Thursday, on the Raider Process Show, hosted by me, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys for joining me, and looking forward to see you guys tomorrow night on the show.
And now it's time I told you to wait. So we had a very special segment for Throwback Thursday. The Misfits of the 83 Raiders.
Saw the 1983 Raiders as America's team. Others as America's most wanted.
The Raiders are so rough. 2 weeks ago, they were penalized 15 yards right off the top for unnecessary roughness. And that was during the national anthem.
And trying to put a face on what that locker room was like. I remember I was watching the Bruce Willis movie Armageddon. They've got 5 days to save the planet. And in walks this group of misfits. They get them from strip bars and on the Harley, evading the police. And they walk into NASA, and the astronauts are looking at this group that's going to save the planet and said, this group has the right stuff. That's what I think people would look at when they walked into our locker room.
Al Davis was the owner who welcomed those misfits to the Raiders. And as Howie Long learned in practice one day, the Raiders' attitude emanated from their owner.
I think he said something like, 75, you think it's pretty tough. Yeah, I'd have taken your lunch money. Something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, whose ass has he kicked? But you know what? I always called him Mr. Davis and still do.
Neither Mr. Davis nor his players back down from anyone.
You intimidate people. That's just the way it is. Some people certainly always push the envelope, but I always felt the game should be played that way. It wasn't a game for anybody who was soft.
Now, the one thing they'll do is take a swing at you. If you hit them good, they'll take a swing. There's 4 or 5 guys that are demented on that team, and you'll probably read about them. A couple of big, handsome guys that have got a mind about that big. Who they can be. I don't want to name them, but they'll come after me like they did Bob.
The most intimidating Raider was Lyle Alzado.
Lyle was a force, and a volatile force. He was a tortured soul. We jokingly called Lyle 3 Mile Lyle because he was like the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant. You just weren't sure when he was going to blow.
He might have been the street smartest guy I've ever been around. His familiar phrase was that he was the toughest street fighter on the planet, and that if he and King Kong went into an alley, only one of us was coming out, and it wasn't the monkey.
I don't particularly think there's a person on this earth that can kick my ass.
Alzado once sparred with Muhammad Ali and wasn't knocked down. Although he didn't become a Raider until age 33, he made an immediate impact, especially on a young defensive end who, like Alzado, fostered a toughness that was the product of a troubled childhood.
The Raiders' basic philosophy on defense is to just out and out beat up the man in front of you.
Howie was, I always say he's one of the toughest white guys I've ever seen in my life, man.
Howie Long oozed confidence, but in reality, he was driven by his own insecurity.
I'm not a shrink, and I really haven't sat down and talked to anybody about this, but I would say, Dad leaves home, raised in 3 different houses, Dad's homeless at one point. That kind of a background will lend to someone questioning the security of any situation. I could be a guy who would have 3-4 sacks in a game, and I would lay in bed and think about the one play that I got hooked on a sweep my way. I think it wasn't until I retired that I took a second and said, I was pretty good.
If that's what worked for him, then God bless him. Never did understand that, because here you had this guy, great looking specimen. I mean, wow, what a body this guy had. I just know that in that point in time, he was an absolute monster, maybe the best defensive end in football.
In the first game of 1983, long set the tone for the Raiders season. Along with number 77, Alzado.
During that year, the Raiders led the league in sacks, and if I'm not mistaken, knocked out 8 quarterbacks during the season. I'm not surprised at that. As the phrase goes, they arrived in a bad mood.
And they often arrived together.
We walked on the field together, we walked off the field together. If you fought one of us, you fought us all. It was kind of like your dad, and I say this to my boys, if I ever hear that somebody got after your brother and you were there and you didn't jump in, I'm gonna kick your ass.
In the home opener, they held Houston to 6 points, then destroyed the Dolphins on Monday Night Football in Week 3. The next week, they welcomed rookie John Elway to the NFL, knocking him out of the game and battering his backup Steve DeBerg. In the first month of the '83 season, the undefeated Los Angeles Raiders established themselves as a very good team with a very bad disposition. These misfits weren't being asked to save the planet, but they played like they were intent on ruling the planet.
It just wouldn't be a Raider Reaction morning show without a freaking D-bag of the day, now would it? Well, of course not. Of course not.
You, sir, are a fucking douchebag.
This one back out to coronavirus. You asshole, you. Now because of you, school's canceled for the rest of the year. Meaning we gotta homeschool our kids for the rest of the year. I don't know if I liked going to work more or being at home, but so far, I don't want to be in either place, but we'll do what we gotta do, right? Enjoy the time we got with our families. But yeah, big ol' F you still to the coronavirus.
And now, to send you out on your Thursday, your Raider quote of the day. The fire that burns brightest in the Raider organization is the will to win. Words of the Maverick, the Godfather, the late, great Hall of Famer, Al Davis. Have a kick-ass Thursday, Raider Nation. Remember to tune in tonight for the Raider Nation Process Show with Raider WAP at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Until tomorrow morning, same Raider time, same Raider channel. I'm out. Peace, love, Raider Nation.